Hey, and welcome to the Commit to Change, otherwise known as C2C podcast, that gives a voice to the people who may be considered a small fry in their industry, but are doing big things in their communities. This is Miss Nikki, the Jane of all trades, but the master of living. I am committed to introducing local VIPs, vivaciously inspiring people to encourage you on your daily journey, as well as know what is possibly happening around in your area. And as always, we have a super fantabulistic fashionista in the house today. She goes by the name of Laura Volpintesta. Hope I said that correctly, young lady. Yes. She has over 20 years of experience in fashion design and illustration, and she has dedicated her life to teaching artists online to undo their beliefs in art and design. And before I go any more into talking about this wonderful woman, I'm going to pass the mic over to her because she has a lot to say about what she does, because not only does she do fashion, she does a whole bunch of other stuff as well that makes up her wholly as a woman, which a lot of times we're not just one thing, but we have one particular specialty. But I want to give her a chance to say something to you. So I know our audience would love to hear more about you, Laura, and what you do. So I'm going to pass the mic over to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much, Ms. Nikki. I'm Laura Volpintesta. I'm in Connecticut, not too far from you.
Yay.
And I'm one of those people who I think, I grew up in school, good girl, follow the rules, which later in life I realized that wasn't really going to get me where I wanted to go, because it made me shy and kind of scared to express myself. So my whole life mission here is about expression and overcoming rules that were planted in me early on that I didn't even know were there, which has led to homeschooling my kids, homeschooling/unschooling, which is something I didn't even know would be an option until way after I gave birth. That's been an amazing journey, which also introduced me to self-directed learning, which is a big part of how I teach my online programs. And that started when I used to teach a Mommy and Me class that I had to take a deep training for, that taught me that learning really comes best from curiosity, play, being in a flow state. It comes from the inside. It's not all crammed into you from the outside. And I love that. And that changed the way I parented. Mm-hmm. It changed the way I saw the world. And studying art also taught me that I could change the way I see. And when I studied art in the beginning, I literally felt like I had new eyes and new perceptions. And I've carried that through my life. I love when people can change the way they look at things to see
Absolutely.
the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get to be in a new way. You get to have a completely different world, even though you're sitting in the same world. So, and I'm always on that journey myself, because we always have beliefs that are too small for us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
There's nothing more exciting than that freedom. And so my program right now is called Freedom Fashion. It's always about a sense of feeling free, because I'm a rule person. Mm-hmm. If someone gives me a rule, I run with it. It's like, no, I need to feel free somewhere.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's something I want to pass on to people.
So then let me ask you, because I know we talked about in your intro that you worked over 20 years for a particular fashion company, and you decided to venture off on your own to work for yourself. What inspired you to make that type of commitment and change your life?
Very interesting. I would love to say that it was a very empowered story, but actually I was let go twice for having a baby. So once because I was due in September, I'd been there for 5 years and I was too young to kind of fight back, but they're like, oh, you're due in September? Take the year off. And I was just like, okay. And then the second time I had a baby 9 years later, and they got me a new boss who told me I had to resign if I couldn't come in every day. And it's 5 hours in and out commute every day. So I didn't really have a choice. But it was really hurtful because I'd been there for so long. I thought that there would be some like, they used to like honor me as a whole person, my schedule, my family, and suddenly I had a new boss and it was just like,
oh,
yeah, that was hard. It had been about 9 years, like sort of recover. It kind of catapulted me into a spiritual evolution of just learning to re-see my world. Because when I had that job, I felt appreciated financially, creatively. I felt so fulfilled there.
Mm-hmm.
And that had just kind of landed in my lap. This time, I have to learn to step into my own power and claim it for myself, not wait for someone to give it to me.
Right.
I'm one of those people that's a big one for me. I'm sort of like a meek, gentle, and this is like, no, Laura, you can't operate that way. You have to claim this for yourself. Mm-hmm. Otherwise I get steamrolled. So that's when I had started teaching online, on campus and online at the university. So I had already gotten familiar with online teaching.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to film my classes my way, set up my website. This is an important one. I think this will speak to many people. I always told my art students, always, because I know it's true, that art isn't something you're just born with, art skills. If you love beauty and if you want to create, you have it in you. You can't be excluded from that. But in my personal life, I always said, in my family, no one's a business person. No one's good at business. I don't know how to negotiate. I don't know how to run a business. All these beliefs, all these stories. I said, wait, that's just like art, isn't it? I'm going to educate myself. I'm going to do this. I'm going to learn it just like I have to walk my talk, right? So if art isn't just for a select few, either is entrepreneurship. So I signed up for Marie Forleo's B School back then and got my business tools on. I learned all about marketing and realized that marketing is a great, massive empowerment tool for primarily women. I get so excited about because we often, when we have kids and stuff, we're stuck. We need to be home a lot more.
Right.
And being able to reach out from your little cockpit at home is tremendously liberating.
Yes. So, once you decided to switch over and you really had some steps ahead of a lot of people who make that decision to transition. You kind of already had your foot in it. Like you said, it was an easy transition because of the fact that you already had the online thing going, so you could learn. It was more feasible to think of the idea, is what I'm saying. Like some people can't see where they're going to make that change. So what do you feel was like your biggest obstacle once you made that decision? And then how do you feel like you overcame it?
My big obstacle was fear, financial fear, because I was nursing like a little baby who didn't sleep for 2 years. I had very little juice to go on, except so I would like to say I was so brave, but I really had no choice. As soon as I lost that full-time salary, blah, 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 every time I got a job offer, my gut said no. Like little jobs, because all my jobs were like little gigs. No. I was like, wow, these no's are so strong. And yet I need a job. I need money. And I realized that intuition in me knew that I wouldn't be able to thrive on 20,000 little jobs because my energy would be everywhere. I would just be desperately tired. I knew I needed to take a focused energy. Wait, there was something. Give me 1 second. I had to overcome that when I was in the school. Great. All the students just landed in my classes. Yippee. All of a sudden it was me like, hello world, feeling like I'm blowing into the wind. And how can I get eyes on me? How will people find me? That was, that's hard. That was a hard feeling of being invisible and always not believing I'm going to make it and always making it. I can't say, I'm flying all over the world in Hawaii and all this stuff, but I'm here. I'm here with my kids and my family, and my first values are all met. You know, I think deep down we all have priorities and they're different for everyone. And I never judge that because especially with moms, we all have to do what we have to do to keep it all going. But I feel like I'm often worried,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm still here. I'm so excited when I focus on connecting. When I'm connecting with my students and everything, it feels so great. But the challenge is to remember to be great regardless. That's the daily work.
Right, exactly. So, who would you say has been your biggest supporter?
Possibly my mother. Well, actually, someone that was huge for me when I had a real trauma when my job ended because it was so sudden. It's like I showed up for the first day of school and then they told me like everything was changing and I had this little baby at home. So I had stumbled upon Gabrielle Bernstein's books or some of her YouTube videos, and she just
Yeah,
kept
I
saying,
love Gabby.
really carried me through. It was like someone put a hand out and just pulled. So the Course in Miracles lessons and like what you said, there has to be a better way. When
Yes.
you that point, in earlier in my life, I had been married to an alcoholic, and you know, there's that one day where you're on your knees and you say, there has to be a better way. You don't know
Yes.
the way. You just know there's a better way. And that's your guiding light. It's that voice inside that knows what you want and what you can have versus you're not in a good place. You're in pain. So that's spiritual support. But then I have my mom.
Right, right, good.
My mom's very supportive too.
Good. So, let me ask you, and this is kind of not in our line of questioning, but I'm very curious because you mentioned something earlier about, making it. So a lot of people, they measure their levels of success differently. And to me, I would feel like you living out your vision right now would be considered successful. So how do you measure your success? Did I stump you?
There's two sides because there's one where when I connect with clients, when we're in that zone, when I'm doing what I know I'm meant to do, whether it's singing with my band, teaching with a client, or when you're in that state where you don't even know your name anymore, like you're just all this energy and information's coming through you because it's like you must download it into that person. Like you're trying to transfer empowering energy, whether it's information or perspectives. But like when you're in that state of teaching, or like when you're making your video, you get into this state where you're just you're plugged in, and you're really not doing it. Same even happens when I'm doing my paintings. They're just happening. I've created the space and they're just happening. And those are successful moments, right? Those are like, that's where you remember what you are, who you are, and that it's all magic. That's
Yes.
success to you. But I often look to wherever it's not and use that as my measure, and then poke myself with it. It could be a relationship with someone I'm dating, what's lacking, and then focus on that. Look at the bank account. What's lacking? Focus on that. And my challenge is not to always find something to rob myself of joy with.
Mm-hmm.
Which we're all pretty good at that, I'm sure.
Yes.
Which is why arts and expression and business and family are all places where I can avoid those nagging worries and feel like, oh yeah, this is the magic, the joy of life. But I would like to be gentler on myself always. This is always a thing.
Right. So, how do you feel that you are adding value to your community?
So that's something where I feel like it can always expand, because we have our business and I'll talk about that. But I feel that and I think I got some of this from Gabby, you know, every little interaction you have ripples over the whole planet. You know,
Absolutely.
you go buy your groceries and you're chatting with, I'm getting like tearing up saying this.
Oh,
You know, you thank the person at the checkout and ask them how their kid is, and you just, that's impacting your community.
yes.
And I'm like I had like a home birth and a hospital birth and a birthing center birth. So, and I took this doula course. So I'm like, oh, I want to help women in birth. Well, that would be another business, right?
Right.
And music is another, like I can't make a business out of all of them, but I could trust that Spirit's going to bring the right person in front of me at the right time where I can share my experience.
Yes.
Someone's going to ask me at the right time about, you know, someone's going to be married to an alcoholic, and I could say, this was my experience. And those little things count. So it's not more because it's $1 million or a million people, maybe. I would like to reach more people, but every time someone's liberated or freed into more joy and peace, our work is done.
Right.
And that we take turns. We're never like, we're up here helping all these people. We're up here helping someone who feels like they're down here. And 10 minutes later, that person is actually lifting us at the same time.
Right. Right. Yeah. And that in itself is a humbling experience. And some people don't know how to accept that and take it as what it is.
It's extremely humbling.
Yes. So what tips or advice would you give to someone who is sitting on the fence of their field of dreams?
I would definitely say that I never could have believed that I could take this much time for myself. And that my spiritual work is my primary work every day. Because when I'm out in the world, push, I'm so distracted that I can't even hear my inner voice.
Yes.
So tuning in every day, and every day it's like the dishes. Every day there's a sink full of dishes right here. Every day I've got to maintain, check in, listen, remember, and then act. And when I was super busy, I never believed that I would have that time.
Mm-hmm.
But if I had that time, I would surely wind up homeless somewhere.
Mm-hmm. And
miracle by miracle by miracle, I'm still here. I get to meet people like you. I get to students who I'm like, were they mailed to me? Like, because when you connect with the right person, you're like, wow, how did I attract them?
Yes.
So I would say that what you don't believe is possible is a belief, and that there's actually more kindness hiding in there than people think. And of course, when you worry about how people think, that will hold you back a lot. You need to care more about what you really think than what other people think.
Absolutely.
And that's another journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So Laura, are you ready for the lightning round?
Oh, I hope so. I like to not over prepare. Like, let's do this in the moment. Let's go.
Okay, here we go. So what initially held you back from making your commitment to change your life, which means that time where you shifted over to working for yourself?
Actually, I was so safe in that job that I had great impact with my students, but I didn't have my own personal power because I was protected by the money and the institution. So I was actually, suddenly it was like someone ripped all my clothes off, and there I was, very vulnerable, and I just had to do it.
Okay, very good. What is the best advice you've ever received?
Oh, wow. I don't know if this is great advice, but this always stuck in my head. I had a teacher at Parsons in the city when I was a teenager. He said, talent and a token won't get you further than the Bronx. And I didn't get it. And I think it's something I would never tell my students, but the talent is one thing. Yay. If you want to get out of the further than the Bronx, you gotta make that happen. People aren't just going to come and pick you.
Right.
But it takes a lot more than just talent.
Right. Very good.
Or less than just talent.
Right. You're funny. So share a personal habit that contributes to your success.
Dance.
Oh.
When you dance, you feel so beautiful from the inside out, and you remember that you're on Earth, that you're having this Earth experience, and you can tap into your joy. Music and dance are like a lifeline for me, and we all deserve joy all the time. Don't put that off.
Exactly. Yes, we do. So what book would you recommend to our C2C audience, and why?
Well, I don't want to get too I think A Course in Miracles is like the most amazing book ever, but I first got introduced to that through the Gabby Bernstein's book that was called Add More Ing to Your Life. That's the book that fell into my life when I was, an ing for her means inner guidance. That's the book that landed on my path right when I most needed it. So I guess I'll recommend that one, even though I haven't revisited it. It changed my life.
Okay, next question. If you found out that you had 1 hour left to live and you were given the opportunity to share one final message, what would it be?
You're enough.
Oh.
Everyone and anyone. And
that's powerful. Just in that sentence, you're enough. That is powerful, powerful, powerful. Not enough people believe that they are enough.
See, that's it. I'd be like, oh, I teach fashion. I don't teach whatever. Fashion, that's all I really teach is you're enough, over and over and over. We have different vehicles, but the underlying message is the most important message, right?
Yes, you're enough. Wow. So Laura, it has been a pleasure talking to you today. Please tell our audience how we can find out more about you and what you're doing.
I'm even teaching a dance class through my fashion business next week. So if you want some art and fashion and even dance kind of classes, I'm doing a lot of free classes throughout August. But you'd have to be on that list. So if you're into art or music, it's at fashionillustrationtribe.com. That's my website. And if you ever wanted to shoot me, just stay in touch, Instagram's my favorite place. I'm there all the time. But on Instagram, I'm Laura Volpintesta, which no one can spell. But there I am.
Well, as long as they get Laura VOL, I think maybe you'll pop up. Yes?
I hope
maybe.
so. Yeah.
We're going to have to get you a nickname or something. I don't know.
Laura V, like Gary V,
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, that's a wrap. I want to thank you so much, Laura, for being. Yep. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for being our VIP guest here on C2C podcast. Yeah, I appreciate you. And I thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in. We hope you feel inspired to keep moving forward towards your goals and stick with or make a commitment to change your life. Please make sure to check out the links provided by our guest and share today's podcast and information with anyone you feel may benefit from it. And remember, in order to get to the top of the steps, you have to take the first step. Just don't step on anyone on the way up, because you just might trip. This is Miss Nikki. Till next time.
Thank you, Miss Nikki.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye.